Bucky's Basement. Bucky's Basement.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have the only gun on board. Welcome to Con Air.
And with that, welcome to this week's episode of Bucky's Basement. I'm Bucky, and as always in the basement with me today, I have Oldboy.
Bucky, it's your barbecue. It tastes good.
And Juicebox.
How do I live without you?
And we are back with another episode of Casting Cage, which I have been overly excited for. I have been waiting. I have been yearning. I have been, everything that you can think of that in anticipation to finally review 1997's Con Air.
Yep.
This is a movie I have seen more than 100 times.
Wow. Man.
And whether it is me sitting on the couch at lunch and it's on TBS, whether it is throwing a DVD in the PlayStation 5, whether it's going to the theater, whether it's, I had a VHS of this back in the day, whether it is anything that I can see. If I'm walking by a television and Con Air is on, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch it, and at least until the commercial break, and more than likely until the end.
Juicebox, what movie have you seen 100 times?
100, I don't know, man. I mean, that's a lot of times to see a movie.
I'm trying to think of like Indiana Jones, maybe?
I'm not saying all the way through. I'm just saying I've put eyes on this movie at least 100 times in some capacity.
Yeah.
Okay,
See,
all right.
for me, that it might be a close one for me. Might be Independence Day, because that was like always on TV. Like when I had cable, I felt like, and it was just always on. And it's like, I don't know. It's the same type of thing. You see part of it. You're like, well, shit, I'll give it another 10 minutes of my time.
Yeah, what happens next again? Oh, yeah.
No, but I know what happens.
Right, yeah.
But this week we are reviewing something equivalent to comfort food for the hungry, chicken noodle soup for the sick, companionship for the lonely. This is Con Air. This is to me, there are only about 5 movies that rank in my top 5.
And this is like
To Con Air
pinnacle cinema here?
makes my top 5.
Wow.
I'm going to put that on record on this podcast, on this YouTube stream.
Con Air
Con Air makes my top 5.
makes your top 5.
It has
I'm-
everything that you would want in a film. It has everything that I wanted to go see in 1997 in the summer. It has every character and actor and Jerry Bruckheimer. And this was, if you were talking about, we reviewed The Rock, and we've been going back and forth on this Armageddon argument forever. And Juicebox mentions Independence Day, and we're talking like prime 1990s action thriller movies. Con Air is number fucking 1.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm really intrigued to know what the other 4 movies are in your top 5.
We'll get to those at a later point.
Okay. Yeah.
I
sure.
just know Con Air is up there. The Goonies is number
I know
1 and
Goonies
always
is in
has
there.
remained number
Right.
1.
Should be. You really like Titanic.
Yes, I did, but
Yeah,
I don't think it would make a
do.
top 5.
You do.
Another
If it came on, would you stop and just watch it?
not Titanic. Too
Not
slow.
Titanic? Too slow?
Yeah. I think another Nick Cage movie would crack my top 5 would be Raising Arizona.
Solid.
And that's probably the only one that you guys would actually agree with in my entire top 5.
Yeah.
But this week we're reviewing
100%.
1997's Con Air. It has a 6.9 IMDb rating, and it has a 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. So what that tells me is 42% of the country got that fucking wrong.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Con Air was directed by Simon West, which actually this is his first film. He goes on to direct not so great movies, or not things that match the level of intensity and beautiful shots of Con Air. He goes on to direct Expendables 2, which we used to go back and forth on for quite a
Okay.
while. He directed Lara Croft Tomb Raider in 2001. But prior to this, and I wanted to get into this because this is Simon West's very first film, which is a massive blockbuster to come out of the gates for, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Before this, here's what Simon West is known for. 3 McDonald's commercials, which were really popular, which I guarantee you've seen at least 2 of them. And this is the guy who created the Budweiser frogs. The Budweiser.
Oh, wow, that's wild.
Really?
That is what he was known for before Con Air.
That
So-
got him a movie deal?
I guess.
I would argue that he's known for one more thing, and I wish I had the sound clip for it. But he directed Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up.
Right. You're 100%
So
right.
he has probably made $1 billion just off people Rick rolling people on like through YouTube or whatever.
I did read an article that said that, and it said if you don't know it, you at least know the first 10 seconds of that music video.
Yeah,
if you've been
exactly.
Rick rolled.
That's
Yeah,
true. That's
no
true.
doubt.
So we're going to see what Simon West has to offer this week because he directed one of my favorite movies of all time, Con Air. I can't wait to get into this today. There's a lot to break down, and I mean like a lot of characters, a lot of questions that I have with the movie. You all out there have probably seen this movie at least once, and you're probably diving into this podcast because you want to hear us break it down. We're going to do something a little bit different this week, and I want to start with the cast. So let's get deep into this cast because it is massive.
It's got a lot of names.
A lot of names. So what was the movie? It wasn't Deadfall, or was it Deadfall? The movie we reviewed with a ton of cast people or actors.
There's a lot of actors in it.
It wasn't. No, it was.
No, not Deadfall. That movie was terrible.
But yeah.
It had Michael Biehn and Nick Cage, and that was about it.
Yeah.
What was the one with Ving Rhames and we did this Kiss of Death.
Oh,
Kiss of
yeah,
Death with David Caruso.
Yeah, it had
Horatio
a
Caine.
big cast.
It had a massive cast, and
I can't believe you forgot about that movie with how much you gushed over Horatio Caine or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah, dude. Right.
I love David Caruso.
Mr. in Red.
We had a lot of we had a lot of hope for that movie. It kind of fell flat, and it was one of the worst ones that we've reviewed in this chronological order of Nick Cage movies called Casting Cage, the series we do for you each and every time that they come out. Let's start with the cast. Obviously, we have the wonderful and beautifully talented Nicolas Cage playing Cameron Poe.
Yep.
Cameron Poe is a former Army Ranger who comes back home after he has served his purpose in the Army.
I guess so. Yeah.
An Army Ranger is like, what, a Navy SEAL? It's the top, right?
I guess so.
So he comes back, quickly gets in a bar fight, gets thrown back in prison for 7 years, and then we are seeing his extradition back home after a long prison sentence. You see a lot of good guy in Cameron Poe, right?
Right. Yeah. He's clearly another moral, upright character for
Can
Nick
never
Cage.
leave
Yeah.
a man behind.
Yep.
It's every Nick Cage character at this point,
Just
right?
about.
Like, I mean,
He's only
besides
played
for
it.
like maybe Vampire's Kiss or some of his other like
Long
things,
Legs.
he's yeah.
That's
I mean,
what.
But for the
he's
most part, he's always the character with morals, right?
Yeah.
And finally, I think the next movie we see a character without morals, as he plays. Oh, what's that guy's name in Face Off? It's a famous name.
Oh shit.
Castor Troy.
Castor
Yeah.
Troy. Yes. So this is the last good Nick Cage we're gonna get for at least one more film. His accent is unreal. His mullet is unreal.
It is unreal.
Yeah. I don't know that I would call that a mullet, honestly, but
Well,
Yeah.
it's beautiful hair is what it is. But I learned that Nick Cage actually went to a university in Alabama and spent like a couple of weeks there to try to get this accent. Because he's supposed to be from Alabama, so
Right.
he rented a hotel at like this like Troy University or something, and he hung out with the locals for like 2 weeks just to get the accent down.
kind of feel like they were fucking with him. Like, they changed their accent around him or something. But this is also the man that said he got into the mind of an alcoholic after like binge drinking in Ireland for like 2 weeks or whatever.
That is
Like,
true. He really likes to get into his characters.
Yeah.
All right, up next we have the amazingly talented and charismatic actor John Cusack. He plays U.S. Marshal Vince Larkin.
Yeah, that's generous.
Yeah, man.
I just say that
know
because
how I
I know
feel about
Old Boy
Cusack.
hates
Yeah.
all the Cusacks.
I'm not a fan.
And this is the most talented one. I think Come on, man. Hot Tub Time Machine, High Fidelity. Like, back in the day when he's holding the radio box above his head outside a window.
The only thing I liked Joan Cusack, or the movie she was in, was that Toy movie. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a trip.
With Robin Williams.
Yeah.
We've got John Malkovich as a heavy hitter here. I want to say he might have played outside of the character a little bit. I think John Malkovich is smarter than this character, or more well-spoken.
Yeah, this character is pretty fucking smart and pretty well-spoken, I feel like, for the most part. But
what I'm saying is I think John Malkovich stepped outside his box. I did read an article about him, about this movie that came out 8 months ago. He's filming a new movie, and somebody asked him about his character in Con Air, and he said he hated it because they kept changing the script on him.
Yeah.
And they kept throwing like curveballs, and every time he went to work it was something different, and he was just pissed because he prepared for this role.
Right.
And they just keep throwing these new things at him.
Oh yeah, so he was
constant.
memorizing lines and getting in character, and they're like changing it up on him.
Learned he hated the sayonara thing.
Oh my God, I loved the sayonara.
That is funny.
The sayonara was the best line in the movie.
It's not.
It is. Sayonara.
He was in that movie with Clint Eastwood where he was like trying to assassinate the president, like right around this
Great
time.
movie.
Yeah,
Also,
I like that movie
so I
too.
feel like he's already, he has established himself as a bad guy and like a, this type of character. Maybe this is a little more psychotic, but
That movie, I will never forget. The rabbit's foot keychain is where the bullet was.
Yeah.
And he
That
had a
movie's
wooden
awesome.
gun.
plastic.
Plastic. Yeah,
Plastic.
That movie's awesome.
I need to revisit that.
That movie, like I remember watching it, and it's like this movie is gonna give like people ideas. Like
Yeah,
this
no
is
doubt.
this is a dangerous
you're
movie.
absolutely right.
All right, next we have Ving Rhames, who we've seen in Nick Cage movies before. He plays Diamond Dog, a.k.a. Nathan, as Cyrus the Virus, consistently says. That's John Malkovich's character, Cyrus the Virus. I forgot to get into that. It says Cyrus he's known for kidnapping, robbery, murder, extortion. He escaped prison. He killed 11 inmates. And they say it in the movie. He's killed more people than cancer.
Yeah.
So there's so many dumb lines in this movie.
Ambitious.
And then Nathan Jones, a.k.a. Diamond Dog.
So I've got his intro. I pulled his intro for the movie,
Which is
I
great,
love
by
it.
the way.
Nathan Jones, a.k.a. Diamond Dog, former general of the Black Guerrillas. He blew up a meeting of the National Rifle Association saying, and I quote, they represented the basest negativity of the white race. He wrote a book in prison called Reflections in a Diamond Eye. New York Times called it a wake-up call for the black community. They're talking to Denzel for the movie.
All right, also in this movie, Danny Trejo plays Johnny 23. He is a rapist.
Serial rapist.
Yeah.
And then I
You want
was
to go ahead and get this out of the way?
I was talking to Oldboy the other day, and what makes me mad about revisiting this movie on a podcast level is the fact that I got a tattoo in October, and it is eerily similar to Johnny 23's tattoo, where he keeps getting a heart that is on a rose, bush,
Right.
tattooed on his arm every time he rapes someone.
There's a victim.
There's a victim. And I currently have a tattoo of 29 roses on my arm.
Why are you calling attention to this?
I thought it was it is just eerily similar. They
And
call
you've
me
seen
Johnny
this-
600 if they knew the truth.
And you've seen this movie how many times?
A lot. Oh, another heavy hitter in this movie is Steve Buscemi, who plays Garland Green, a serial killer who killed 37 people up and down the eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
He makes it a point in the movie to talk about how he, wore a girl's hat on his head.
A girl's head as
As a hat.
as he drove across 2 states or something like that. I got a little sample from when he was being intro. Actually, it's not from his intro, but
That skinny little man butchered 30-something people up and down the eastern seaboard. They say the way he killed those people makes the Manson family look like the Partridge family.
I just had to pull that because the Manson family, Partridge family thing, like that is how all the lines in this movie or all the jokes in this movie are. You know what I'm
yin and
saying?
yang.
It's like they're just, I don't know.
I love Garland Green's character in this movie. I think other than they have the weird psych out little girl scene. But
Right.
like some of the stuff that he says, the enlightening things that he says, just because he only has so few lines in this movie.
Yeah.
The one about Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama, when they've stolen the plane. There was a couple more that I wrote down, but I cannot find it at the moment. But
I was.
the one about sanity, where somebody works at the same job for so
Right,
long,
yeah.
and they
Yeah.
kicked him out the door. That one was pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't understand the point of his whole character. Like it's I don't know.
I agree. Like, I feel like, well, I was thinking at the time, like, man, he's underutilized, but now he's
Right.
like, adequately utilized. And I love Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
But yeah, his character made no difference. And then at the end, like, he gets away, and you're
Yeah.
like, are we supposed to believe that now he's somewhat rehabilitated because he didn't kill the kid or whatever,
Right,
and now
yeah,
he's just
like-
in Vegas, like, gambling, or is like,
Yeah,
I
what's
think
the?
I think he gets. He's got to know he's going to get caught again. He's a serial killer.
Well, they probably think he just
Yeah.
died.
Oh, in the plane.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I'm wondering if he just wasn't the comic relief after Chappelle's character got halfway through it, got dismissed.
yeah, but he wasn't really funny, though,
So Simon West made a point.
Yeah.
in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah.
When Simon West was going to direct this film, and the writers of the film, they only wrote roles for two people with them in mind. One was John Malkovich, and the other was Steve Buscemi.
They wrote the character
Wow.
with him in mind.
Yeah.
Wow. How about that?
Up next is McKelty Williamson, who plays Baby O. You might know him much better from Bubba from Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah.
The friend of Nick Cage's character, Cameron Poe, in this movie.
Yeah.
Here's another fun fact that I was reading. Did you know that Bubba in Forrest Gump, Dave Chappelle went out for that role, and it was between him and this guy? I didn't know that until I started reading
Damn,
into
that
it.
would have been a whole different movie.
That is, a very wild thought.
Dave
Damn.
Chappelle was just breaking on the scene when all of this happened. Like, this is before the
How
Dave
about that?
Chappelle you know today.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
Because he was in like more movies than you remember in the 90s,
Right.
like way
Oh,
before
yeah.
Chappelle Show.
We'll go ahead and get into him as Dave Chappelle as Pinball.
Right.
Real quick, I want to rewind back to Bubba Gump or Bubba, whatever his name is. Like, he gets shot at the movie, and it's like the same fucking scene from
same.
Forrest Gump,
It
like his
is.
same sweaty, dying face, like the same thing. It's like, in case you didn't get enough of this 2 years ago, here it is
Here
again.
you're dead right, man. I made a note about that too. I was like, they just it's like he was made for dying.
Dying in somebody's lap.
How am I doing,
Right.
Bubba? How am I doing, son? Like,
Yeah.
just replace one word.
Oh my God.
Dave Chappelle plays Pinball in this movie. Pinball is a armed robbery expert and dope fiend, which he likes to say. Also in this movie, we'll run through a couple of smaller roles. MC Gainey, I love his role in this movie as Swamp Thing.
I really thought that was the lead singer of Motorhead.
It could have been.
That's funny.
I was
Right?
like, man, yeah.
Lemmy.
MC Gainey is a jack of all trades. He can fly a plane. He can drive a fire truck. That's it.
And he once had a stint as the bodyguard for Coconut Pete.
Right, yeah. John Cusack can also do all those things.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that here in a
All right.
second. Let's go through the remaining of the cast. I've got one more person on here, and I don't even know. He's been in a lot of movies. You just don't you recognize him, but you never knew his name. It's Nick Chinland. He plays Billy Bedlam in this movie.
I really thought that was all. I told you this. I thought it was Diamond Dallas Page.
What are you talking
I don't
about?
know
He looks
why.
nothing like
I
him.
don't know why. Well, I don't watch wrestling either.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can kind of see it a little bit, I think. So there is the one other dude, Colm Meaney, the guy that's like plays the
Oh, yeah.
asshole, like
Oh, yeah.
DEA
FBI
agent or
guy.
whatever. Like, that guy has been around in a lot of movies too,
He's
and I
in a
feel
ton
like
of
he's
shit.
always kind of like an asshole in movies. You're
He's
never
got
really
little
close.
teeth too. There's one part where he smiles. He's got like small teeth. It's
big face, small teeth.
it's so weird.
That's funny.
So that's your cast of characters, and that is a massive all-star cast for this movie.
You left out the women. You got Monica Potter as Trisha Poe, and then you've also got Rachel Takatin, and she is
the deputy officer,
Sally Bishop.
Sally Bishop.
yeah.
Well, I don't think they play huge roles. in this
Sally
movie.
Bishop is a pretty big character,
Yeah.
I feel like.
She's a big character. Trisha Poe plays is in all of like 3 minutes of this movie.
It's true.
Yeah.
I guess she does play a significant part of what's going on in the film about, this ex-Army Ranger trying to get back to his wife.
Yeah.
Who, let's get into the opening. Actually, before we get into the film and just go through some of the scenes that we loved about this movie, we have a segment on Casting Cage where we read the plot that you can find online, and then we kick it back to Juicebox for his take on the movie in a segment that we like to call
Plot by Juicebox.
Newly paroled ex-con and former U.S. Ranger Cameron Poe finds himself trapped in a prisoner transport plane when the passengers seize control.
Yeah.
So that was from IMDb.
That's like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Nick Cage grows out his hair, puts on an Alabama accent, and saves the day from almost every popular 90s actor.
That's also fair.
That's also fair. All right, let's get into Con Air from 1997. Like we mentioned earlier, let's get into the opening. It all moves really quick. We've got an ex-Army Ranger sent home. He goes back to a bar, sees his fiance or wife at the time.
Right.
He was deployed. He came back. These three dudes have obviously been hitting on this waitress.
Real quick though, he gets dropped off by a shrimp boat at the bar, right? Like, did
It's
you guys see
something
that?
like that.
It's a fishing boat that drops him off from the Army.
So he runs into three regulars who are pissed that he's back because Trisha Poe is obviously the hottest thing this little town has ever seen.
No doubt.
And then they get in a fight after the bar, and
Yeah, they
Nick
try
Cage,
to jump him.
They try to jump him. Nick Cage or Cameron Poe, last Boy Scout kills this dude. And
Yeah.
if you know what I mean, like Bruce Willis, straight, palm to the nose through the brain.
Right. Yeah, it's brutal. But, I mean, the guy had a damn knife. And I'm real confused how this cat, especially in Alabama, they're going to convict a veteran
Dude,
who got jumped.
And came down hard on him, too. Like, this guy is like a U.S. hero, basically, like...
It ain't no way. That's the most unbelievable thing in the movie.
Yeah.
I wish I could cue up the Ernest Goes to Camp with, if I pull these hands out of these pockets, they're considered concealed weapons.
Right.
Because that's what
Yeah.
he basically got, right?
Yeah.
So after the last Boy Scout murder, we see a montage, a writing montage to the kid. The kid's writing back because Trisha Poe is pregnant when he goes to jail.
Yeah, montage. That's what I'm starting to realize about these Michael Bay, Jerry Bruckheimer movies. They're montage heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm not too proud to admit that, like, some of those letters back and forth were like, man, I kind of was feeling like, I was like, man, this,
Did you cry?
I didn't cry, but I was getting emotional. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, this is fucking would suck and be super hard and like, I don't know.
You saved that tear for the fireworks at the end?
I saved all my tears for another movie, but
Oh, no.
but I'm just saying, I felt like it was touching there. Like, it was a nice little piece of, I don't know, character development and whatnot.
We developed a relationship between him and Baby O, the Forrest Gump guy.
Which
Right.
they kindled their friendship over a snowball.
A snowball, coconut.
Never had a
treat.
snowball in my life. It
Yeah.
looks delicious.
They're terrible. I've had one before. They just taste like chemicals. Like all those like little processed things just
Little
taste like
Debbie,
chemicals. But
yeah.
really quick, like his care package was snowballs, Doritos, an off-road magazine, and like a pack of gum. But it was
Yeah.
like very prominent snowball and Dorito.
Right,
like
right.
this is what people in prison want, and we're fine with that. This is
Or
where being our advertisement.
People
in the
from
movie.
Alabama.
It's better than that slop that they give you at chow time or whatever they call
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
no
no, I think it's funny that, they obviously sponsored the movie to have their shit in there, and it's just being shown, and it's like basically
Prison
like
snacks.
prison collateral, prison money, or
All right, so we find out that Cameron Poe's getting released, and the only way to get back to his original home is to hitch a ride on Con Air, or an airplane
Right.
transporting prisoners.
A prisoner transport.
Which is so interesting to me because I was reading some fun facts about this movie, and one of the facts is this is actually based on something that was coming out that same year that was in real life. So it was called the Justice Prisoner and Alien Transportation System, which was formed in 1995 and was set to take its first flight in 1997, which is an airplane that would transport prisoners. It would be the first of its kind. I think somebody got a hold of that information and developed
It's
a
like,
movie, because there's
that's
no way the movie comes out the same year that they're taking their first flight.
Yeah.
I think people would keep that under wraps, maybe.
I mean, surely they've flown prisoners.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't know, unless it's just like this
yeah.
is the first time it's ever been a dedicated. I don't know.
prisoner
yeah.
flight. So Cameron Poe has to take a ride with all of these prisoners, and this is where you get the John Cusack voiceover, which is one of my favorites, where he's starting to talk about the prisoners. Like we shared
yeah.
that, you know, that Diamond Dog introduction earlier.
Yeah.
It's great when they're talking about them and introducing like the evil on this movie.
Yeah. And the graphics on that part too almost look like a video game. Like it shows their little like mugshot and then their like breakdown. It reminded me of like NBA Jam graphics or something.
Yeah.
And speaking of Vince Larkin, so this is where also we're going to meet, you know, the good guys in the movie, because there's not a real like art here. It's just good guys versus bad guys. They establish it within the first 5 minutes.
Yep.
And then within the good guys, you have turmoil, because as every movie that we've reviewed, just like The Rock, just like, you know, some of these other movies with this action thriller, there always has to be a DEA agent and a U.S. Marshal and somebody above somebody, and they all think that they have the right thing, right?
Departments want to run the show their way.
This is where we learn that they're, you know, putting an undercover DEA agent on this plane. I don't know why.
Every movie we watched, inevitably, they've always made the worst decisions.
Yeah,
when it
you're
comes
right.
to like trying to obtain the criminals or whatever.
DEA agent is not supposed to carry a weapon on this plane, but he somehow gets it because the bad DEA agent, his boss, puts it in his little sock before he gets on this plane.
What was the point? I guess I missed the point of that guy. Like, why was he on the plane and wearing like a wire
so
and
they
shit?
mentioned that they were going after Sandino, which is the only character we didn't mention so far because he gets on at Carson City. Sandino is a South American drug lord.
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
they were trying to bust him instead of like anything else going on this plane. But if something happens, he's got to step in, right? And something happens pretty early in this thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't do anything, and it just gets him killed.
No.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Immediately.
Yeah. Like, I was thinking, oh, man, that guy's gun is going to be the catalyst for them escaping, but it's not.
So let's kick this plane off. As soon as it literally gets all three wheels off the ground, Pinball coughs up the fire stuff out of his throat that he swallowed.
Yeah.
He sets Cochise on fire, which is here's another fun fact about Dave Chappelle. He ad-libbed every line in this movie. There was not a single script for him in this movie. They told him to go on and do it. They said, here's what's going to happen. Just talk. And he ad-libbed every single line in this movie.
Did awesome.
That's funny. So he's like actually hitting on that one girl in the scene. Like,
Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. Good for him.
So let's speed this up. I've got Pinball coughs up the fire stuff. Inmates take the plane.
Pretty easily.
And then the DEA
So
agent
easily,
pulls
yeah.
his gun out because they're unlocking all of the
Why in
people.
the fuck would you send your co-pilot in there with a gun? Like, I'd be like, no, man. Like, don't. Whatever
got
you
it.
do,
We got guards
do not
back there.
open that fucking door. We're
Yeah.
gonna land this motherfucker, and that's one of the dumber protocols in the movie.
Yeah. So DEA agent gets killed pretty immediately. Inmates take the plane. And then you hear this, which I'm going to play it again because I love John Malkovich on this line.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have the only gun on board. Welcome to Con Air.
So at the time he thinks he has the only gun on board, we find out there are a lot of other guns on board.
Yeah,
Right.
which didn't make sense. They were so worried about the guns, but I guess all the other guns were only accessible from the outside of the plane or
Must
something.
be, yeah.
Like I was
So it's like,
confused
why
about
even-
that.
Why
yeah,
even have them then?
yeah, because there was like 50 shotguns or something on there.
No clue.
That's pretty much, the opening of the movie. That's the start of Con Air.
You're right. That's the first act.
We find out that they have to go to Carson City pretty quick. They get the manifest. They say, they hold up a guard and they say, what's the deal in Carson City? He says 6 off, 10 on. They finally send bag and tag or whatever they call it and send 6 off. They get 10 on. Some dude almost ruins it. The Aryan dude with the shaved head. He's like, "Oh, we got the plane," and they're like, "Shut the fuck up!"
Yeah.
Like we're still on the ground. There's guards outside.
Right.
So the switch happens, but they get tipped off because Nick Cage tries to save the day.
Right.
He finds the little recorder on the DEA agent. He puts it in the guard's pocket. They get on the bus. They jack him in the chest. It falls out. Then they fake. Then the guy tries to stall him. It doesn't work. He kills him. They get on the plane. They take off.
Yeah.
And
they're back in the air.
And one of the hostages that they sent off the plane was the pilot, because here comes Swamp Thing, who knows exactly, how to fly a plane.
He just takes over. Yeah.
All right, so we're back in the air off Carson City. This is where I want to stop, because now they're headed to Lerner Airfield, and there's a lot of things that happen on the plane between Carson City and Lerner Airfield. But I want to ask you guys, did you have a chance to look at any of the places on a map to where this plane was going?
No, I did not.
All right, so I broke this down, right?
Okay.
This plane started in Oakland, California.
Okay.
So think San Francisco, right?
Right.
It's going to Carson City, Nevada. That's about a 30-minute flight if you're looking on paper, right?
Right, okay.
So the first flight was 30 minutes. Then they get back in the air from Carson City, Nevada, and they're headed to Lerner Airfield in Utah.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
That is a 15-minute flight if you put a plane in the air between Carson City, Nevada, and Lerner Airfield in whatever Utah. I looked it up. It's a real thing.
So they're going further inland?
Yeah. But when they're explaining to Nick Cage what we're doing when he's being inquisitive,
right?
Swamp Thing says it's going to take 71 minutes to get there. And I'm like, if I looked on a map, it would not. Like anywhere close. Now, here's the big question. So then they go from Lerner Airfield to Las Vegas, which is about a 20-minute flight. So they're going Oakland to Nevada to Utah to Las Vegas. But at some point, Pinball gets dropped out of this plane in Fresno, California, which is
right. Yeah,
south.
That's right. Damn.
And that's between Carson City and Lerner Airfield, but it's in Fresno is where they found out.
Right.
So I called bullshit on that immediately. That's the first time I've
Good
ever
for
noticed
you,
it.
man. Yeah, good for you.
I wish I had a map to show you guys. And it's like, where are you going in a circle? Like you're just going back to Oakland.
Right.
I wish I could see the board with all the red string all over it that you used to, to figure it out.
All right, now we're headed to Lerner Airfield, but there is one major thing that happens between Carson City and Lerner Airfield that I want to touch on.
Sure.
And that is Cameron Poe versus Billy Bedlam when they go underneath the plane.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. I mean, we obviously talked about, dumping Pinball because he was loose weight and it was slowing him down.
Right.
He ends up there. He writes the thing on the message, said Larkin, come to Lerner Airfield.
Right.
Which bothers me so much because I'm sorry, a body falls out of a plane and smashes into the ground. That's going to be like a bloody pulp. They're not going to be able to read that shirt. Like, it's going to be like,
no, I completely agree. But let's get back to Cameron Poe versus Billy Bedlam. They go under the plane.
Yeah,
Billy Bedlam is like going through people's shit and then finds out that Cameron Poe's a free man.
The bad guys are a little suspicious of Nick Cage. So you got that subplot kind of going. And you also have this other subplot where he's trying to find insulin for Bubba Gump.
This is the biggest part of the movie, in my opinion, that's most memorable about Con Air is this Billy Bedlam thing. Because this is two things. One, I want to get into right before they fight and when they're going at each other. If you rewind that and watch this Billy Bedlam character going after Nick Cage, it seriously reminds me of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. The way he's like shuffling down through this thing.
Yeah.
It's like scary like that.
Yeah.
But it immediately reminded me of that. But this is where you get the biggest thing that anybody ever remembers about Con Air, besides the meme of him stepping off the bus in the sunshine, is this.
Put the bunny back in the box.
I knew you was a punk, and I was right. You been playing us all along. You a free man.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
All right, if you guys, we bring this up every time we do a Nick Cage podcast. This was 100% and admitted Nick Cage's thing. The whole bunny. The bunny was never in the movie, and the bunny was brought to
What?
Simon West by Nick Cage.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow.
And Nick Cage is on record. He did an interview about in January where they were going through his his movies of all time or whatever,
Right.
and showing scenes.
Yeah.
And he wanted Put the Bunny Back in the Box to be on the same level as Go Ahead, Make My Day. And he thought literally it was going to be that memorable. And so,
I mean, it is. It's probably not the way he wanted it to be memorable. I hated this fight scene. I thought it was like there's
there's 3 hits and the
it was
guy's dead.
Three
Yeah.
hits, and it was like they were crouched down.
Yeah.
and it was just goofy to me.
He's fighting an Army Ranger. It should be 3 hits and dead.
I agree. I just thought the whole thing was kind of silly. My favorite thing about their fight is because they kind of like get into a pissing contest earlier in the film, and Nick Cage looks at the guy and says, "I was just admiring your cage."
Yeah.
I thought that it's just one of those throwaway lines, and I was like, "Oh, this is
100%
so
right.
cheesy." But
All right, let's move on to Lerner Airfield. I'm going to move through this real quick. The tower guy's dead. They discover that.
Right.
The small plane guy is just flying around trying to contact the tower guy, and then
Yeah.
he almost gets taken out by this Con Air plane, which is
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They nearly crash the plane, and then they get off the plane, and they're supposed to have Sandino's plane, which
Yep.
is the South
South-
American drug
yeah.
lord, but Sandino's plane is not there. We find out later it really is there. Let's
Yeah.
see. Let me paint a picture. What else is going on? Baby O's about to die because he hasn't had insulin in like
Right.
48 hours.
Right.
They need to refuel and dig out the plane because Sandino's plane is not there.
They have to dig out the plane. Like,
Yeah.
these 20 dudes pull a plane out of the ground.
Dude, and I don't know if you noticed it, but like they have those giant ropes attached to it, and they're pulling it, and Ving Rhames is just whipping people.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Oh, that's very anti. You know.
it
He's
fits.
whipping the white people.
It
Yeah.
fits.
Meanwhile, Garland Green just walks off and finds a little girl in a pool and sits down and has tea with her.
Yeah.
This was so there was like a trailer park next to this weird like little
Yeah.
airfield that also seemed like it was just like it was a functional airfield, but it also seemed like there was a bunch of shitty cars and like other
junkyard?
just like
Yeah,
junk
it's a
everywhere.
junkyard.
Completely deserted, right?
Besides for the
Yeah.
guy that worked the tower, I guess, right?
So you got the tower
Yeah.
worker, you got the dude flying the little plane, you've got the little girl, and then you've got the old man under the truck that has to take a piss.
Yeah,
that Nick Cage
yeah,
runs into.
yeah.
Those are the only 4 people, and maybe everybody else is just in their trailer because it's so hot outside.
No
Yeah.
TSA.
They're running AC. I don't know.
No TSA pre-check there. This is before all that. Anyways.
Right. You're
This
right.
Garland Green little girl scene made no sense to me in this whole movie, other than to paint a picture of how psychotic this guy is.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it was 100% just to like misdirect the audience. I think that's all it was because they're like, oh god, he's gonna kill this guy or this girl, obviously, and then you're like, this is so fucked up, and then he does it, and you're like, oh god,
It's like the cheering
You're
moment in
relieved.
the
Yeah,
theater.
you're relieved that
Yeah.
this serial killer did not kill one person.
With all that happened between the time Steve Buscemi sat down in this pool, like this empty pool with this girl, and everything that happened, I would have forgotten about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of explosions, there's a lot of firepower, there's a lot of cops and, bad guys and whatever. But so Nick Cage is going to try to find Baby O a syringe because they have a little bit of insulin that they can
Right.
pop in him. He goes in this.
Joe, remember he found that first aid kit and there's like onions and chicken feet in it. And I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is that?
And they
about?
never like that didn't make any sense,
No,
right? Like
no,
what the
I
fuck
didn't-
was
yeah,
that?
What was that?
Maybe somebody was using it as like a lunchbox now. I don't know.
That
Raw
was their
onions
lunch.
and-
Raw onions and
Chicken
chicken
feet.
feet.
I think they were carrots.
No.
I think that was chicken feet.
Oh,
No,
chicken
they,
feet.
yeah, they were not carrots.
All right, so in this hangar where he's looking for this syringe, he finds Sandino's people. Sandino's people actually are there. The plane is there. They're just hiding it because at this point Sandino's trying to get out without all these cons with him. The cops are now on their way because they've been tipped off that this is at the Lerner Airfield. We skipped over that part where they go through Cyrus's cell and they find all the little
Yeah.
decoding stuff and find out they're going to be at Lerner Airfield in Carson City and whatever.
That scene, made me like, it made no sense to me because they like hollow out this brick that's made of like some kind of powder, right?
Right.
So was he reconstructing this brick out of powder like every single day after he's like studying the anarchist cookbook and the blueprints to the plane and all this shit?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and then it had an explosive in it, so all that evidence got blown up anyway.
So back to
sorry,
no,
that,
you're good.
That part just bothered me.
Yeah,
So back to Lerner Airfield. The cops are now coming. You can see them on the horizon. They're about 10 to 12 minutes away.
Yeah.
So they have 10 to 12 minutes to come up with an entire plan to kill all these cops and get away.
They set up an ambush.
But in this airplane hangar where Sandino's people are, they, you know, Nick Cage, beats them with the help of Vince
Cusack.
Larkin, who comes in, and then they apprehend these people. They meet each other. They're kind of questionable of each other. And then that's one of my favorite quotes. Can you do the Nick Cage voice and
What's he say?
And just read this quote right here I have written down where my finger is?
Okay. I'm gonna save the fucking day.
It's
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite lines in the movie too.
Is it? It's not. You're my hummingbird.
that's
not one of them.
the fucking day. And
I'm gonna show you God does exist.
Yeah.
I wrote down a bunch of them.
He's got a lot of great lines.
Let's talk about Nick Cage is swole in this movie, dude. He is jacked.
Yeah.
So I read something that said that he worked out between scenes the entire time they were filming this.
No
to stage
shit.
it. He said he was in the best shape of his life ever in this movie.
Dude, and he does that roundhouse kick in the hangar.
Yeah.
I think that was real.
Well-
It was real. He did all of his own stunts in this movie
Did he?
too. Dude, there is so much written about Nick Cage and Con Air specifically.
No shit.
Up next is the Lerner Airfield Boneyard fight. Great little intro of Malkovich explaining to the cons how this is going to work.
Yeah.
They succeed.
Yeah.
They succeed at killing all of these cops that are coming at them with all of the arsenal that was in the bottom of the plane the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Set up a good ambush.
John Cusack tries to save the day. Nick Cage gets the needle back to Baby O. They dig the plane out. They pull the plane out, and they get the plane somehow back in the air. So then they somehow get back on this plane, and they start playing the song Sweet Home Alabama. That's where you get the fun tidbit from Buscemi's character, Garland Green, who's back on the plane. The little girl's alive. Awesome. Crowd goes wild.
Yep.
He says the irony of a bunch of cons dancing to a song on a plane by a band that's made famous by dying in a plane crash. That's a great line in the movie.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. So then, but the only thing that really, the major points that happen between Lerner Airfield and then crashing into Las Vegas, because you've seen the movie, you know how this works, is they finally Diamond Dog or Nathan finds the letter from Casey, finds the bunny. John Malkovich is starting to question everybody on the plane.
Right.
Somebody tied the rope to the plane. Somebody tipped off the cops in Carson City. Somebody did this,
Yeah.
And then Baby O tries to stand up for him. He gets shot in the belly.
He gets plugged. Yeah, just got over his insulin panic and then gets plugged right in the stomach.
So now we have run out of gas because actually the cops or the DEA agent and the U.S. Marshals were chasing the transponder. They found out it's not the transponder that's on a scenic airplane.
Right.
They come back. Now they're trying to shoot this plane down, but they realize that they got Cameron Poe on board, and they can't shoot down a plane full of cons that killed all of these fucking cops for one innocent dude.
Yeah. Well, you also have a few innocent guards on there, too.
They don't know that. They don't know that they're not dead.
Well, exactly.
They don't. Yeah, they don't know that. But this is like the second movie in a row. It's like in the Rock, when we were watching The Rock, you were like, why didn't they just pay the shit and hunt him down afterwards? In this, they had the perfect opportunity to shoot down this plane in the desert
before it got to civilian population.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that Cameron Poe is gonna die and that one security guard, but like.
Yeah, you
all
got to make
these all these other people are
who just murdered a ton of cops.
Yeah,
it's pre 9/11, but the plane is full of criminals flying towards a city.
Yeah.
So yeah, they should have shot it down.
So Cameron Poe takes over the plane. The DEA agent has a moral compass at some point. Says don't do it.
Don't shoot.
All right,
which is also funny that I think the DEA can just hop in a helicopter with missiles and machine guns, and John Cusack knows how to fly one too.
All right, so back on the plane, we find out that one of the engines is blown. They're out of gas, and we're headed straight for the Las Vegas Strip, which is a great shot right there. That shot where the wing comes over the hard rock guitar, and then we're down in the Las Vegas Strip, and they crash into the Sands Hotel.
Yeah.
Another fun fact about this movie.
I did see this.
Did you? The Sands Hotel was set for destruction, or they were going to blow it up like a month before this movie was shot, and they paid them to leave it open and leave the lights on so they could crash this plane literally into the sands before they blew it up.
Yeah.
And they said they had one take at it, one shot, and they fucking nailed it.
Yeah,
That is
no, it was
awesome.
great. I mean, that looked great. There was some of the other shots that looked great, but there was a few like you could tell it was like totally green screened.
tough.
Like plane was totally green screened over like the strip. It's like, oh man, this
that's tough.
this is a dated effect.
That is true. So they crash the plane down. Cops show up. They're everywhere, right? They get some of the cons, but we get an escape by 3 of the cons. Cyrus the Virus, Diamond Dog, and Swamp Thing all escape up under the plane.
Right.
Cameron Poe literally could have stopped right there. His
Why?
wife was there. His kid was there.
Why
he could have
wouldn't he?
stopped and just
Yeah.
said, I'm
Yeah.
going home.
This is
I
no
did
longer
my
my
job.
fight.
No,
Yes.
but he can't let fucking whatever die.
I know. And then him and Cusack have a bonding moment. And then you learn Cusack can also ride a motorcycle.
Drive a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Really good,
Yeah.
by the
yeah,
way.
yeah,
I mean,
really-
honestly though, Nick Cage said he was going to save the fucking day, so
Okay.
he
Yeah,
still had
that's
work.
true.
He had work to do.
You can't half-ass it, I guess.
So they chase after this. What Swamp Thing can now drive a fire truck too, which is it's great. His skills in this movie.
Yeah, this dude is the magic MacGuffin of the movie. He can do anything.
So that's it. Larkin and Poe are chasing after those 3. They run one motorcycle into Diamond Dog. He's dead.
Right.
They stick. Dude, this is where Cage was like hanging on the bottom of that fucking ladder and
Yeah.
like grabs that thing that
One-handed in the arm he had been shot in.
Yeah,
and just pulls it down and then sticks it in fucking Cyrus's leg.
Yeah.
It's great.
I thought Cyrus was dying by electricity because he flies through a building or like a walkway, and then he goes through like all those electrical cords. I was like, oh shit, he got electrocuted. Classic. But no, he got killed by some type of counterweight thing. And I was like, oh,
I don't know
okay.
where that.
Yeah.
Why was that there?
that's what I wrote down too. I was like, why is this rock crushing machine
Yeah.
like really close to the strips for some reason?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But Nick Cage saves the fucking day. Doesn't care about this money flying in the air. Looks
No.
over and he sees Trisha and Casey Poe.
Yep.
And dude,
Did you cry?
I'm gonna tell you. He walks up to him, and the conversation. He's got this bunny that's been through hell that
Right.
he dug out of a sewer right before and wiped it off.
Cue the song.
Hands it to.
Cue the song.
I wish I could turn it down a little bit. I'll try to talk over it if I can. So Nick Cage walks up to his wife and finally meets his daughter, and he hands the bunny to his daughter, and she doesn't want to take it. She's nervous. She doesn't want to see him, and Trisha says, "Cameron, take that gift from your daddy."
That moved you.
And she takes it, and she says, "I have a picture of you." And then Nick Cage, Cameron Poe says, "I have a picture of you too." And then, dude, her eyes look up, and I just fucking lose it when she goes and hugs his leg. It's her eyes. If
Okay.
she didn't do this little eye thing, this little girl, and like her eyes like get big and wide, and then she hugs the leg.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm starting to do it now.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
wow.
man, it is an emotional scene for sure.
Okay.
All right, speaking of that song, really quick before I get out of here, did you
Yeah.
know that song, that How Do I Live Without You, number one, fun fact about that, it is the number one song of the entire decade of the 90s.
What?
It is on record. Why? Because on the same day in 1997, 2 artists released this song, Leanne Rimes and Trisha Yearwood. Trisha Yearwood, the only reason she was given this song is because Leanne Rimes was pop and she was country, right?
Right.
And the director, Simon West, didn't believe that 14-year-old Leanne Rimes really meant this song. So they literally got Trisha Yearwood to do this for this movie. And they found the hottest country female artist out at the time, which was Trisha Yearwood. They gave her this song and said, this is going to be in a major movie soundtrack. and we can't tell you what movie it is, but we need you to record this song real quick. So they released the song on the same day. So one went to the pop charts and one went to the country charts, which made it the biggest song of the 90s, right? So even further to go, this song was never on the Con Air soundtrack because Leanne Rhymes people were threatening to sue Trisha Yearwood's people and Simon and everybody involved in Con Air because of what they did.
Damn.
And it's unreal. So
it was bigger than like that song was like bigger than like Limp Bizkit and stuff.
Yes, I think a lot of people were bigger than Limp Bizkit.
Bigger than Michael Jackson.
So it goes on to say even further that this skyrocketed both Leanne Rhymes and Trisha Yearwood's careers, and they had never recorded a song, either of them, that was bigger than this song.
No shit.
They
Wow.
did it. They released it on the same day in 1997.
I mean, I definitely heard this song.
So okay, I did not know any of that. This version that's on that we just heard is the Leanne Rhymes version because the Trisha Yearwood version is like really tough to find. I couldn't find a copy of it.
Maybe it's because they made them
Maybe
scrub
take
the
it down.
internet.
Yeah,
of it.
I mean, I didn't deep dive into YouTube, but
Damn, that's
I
crazy.
could not find it.
I should have given you the DVD, and you could have just ripped it off there.
I don't own a DVD player.
All right, that's Con Air. Do you guys have a movie marriage? Movie marriage is where we take two movies that inspired this movie and put them together. You know,
I do.
Two movies that we have an idea that might have inspired this movie. They could be before or after this movie was released.
Okay.
I'm going to let Oldboy go first because this is his first viewing of Con Air.
Yeah, I did. I watched
allegedly.
it twice. No, allegedly. I put Snakes on a Plane and Airplane.
Oh, my God. Can I go next?
Sure.
Snakes on a Plane and Expendables.
Expendables.
Oh
okay.
wow.
Expendables is good.
Gosh, see, I wish I would have had Snakes on a Plane. I had a tough time coming up with the second one. I had Ocean's 11 because I kind of feel like this is like the criminal version of Ocean's 11, and I could almost see, like, this isn't a great movie marriage, I guess, but like I could almost see like a prequel of this movie being made where it's like the fucking dudes like recruiting other criminals and like
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Suicide Squad.
Like Suicide Squad or like Ocean's 11, you know, they're
Yeah.
just like figure out who all the people are going to be on this plane and how they're going to pull this heist and yada yada yada. But I don't know. I guess the other one would be like Armageddon or something. 'Cause
Hey,
it's
was
just
the-
like a
was it-
typical action movie.
Right. Air Force One. Is that Harrison Ford?
Yeah,
Is that
I
what
think
I'm
so.
Here's another fun fact about this movie. The direct, well, obviously this was another fun fact is this was the first movie that Jerry Bruckheimer produced without Don Simpson. Don Simpson died while making
The Rock?
The Rock. That was in January, but they were already scheduled to do this like starting a month later or something. John Simpson, I didn't know this, died of a drug overdose.
Wow.
And I started to read into that because whatever. Anyway, listen to this. Simon West's semi-serious idea for the sequel would be set in space. For Con Air 2 would be set in space. It's unreal, like reading some of the stuff. It says a studio version where they're all robots or convicts or reanimated as super convicts. And where the good guys are bad guys and the bad guys are good guys, something shocking. Like he's on record saying this stuff, and they were like, "We're not going to do a Con Air 2. Like this is outrageous."
Is he in danger of having a drug overdose?
Yeah, maybe. He got really into cocaine after this movie.
Kind of sounds
Had a lot of great
demolition
ideas. I was going to say it sounded like Universal Soldier.
Man. Okay, yeah.
Because didn't they like reanimate like soldiers in that movie as
Something
like
like
robots or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know.
I think you're right.
All right, so another thing that we do before we rate Con Air on our own personal ratings is tagline.
I think we already know what your rating is, Bucky.
Well, no, we don't know. I could surprise you guys. I've had to
Brother.
watch this twice in the last couple
Brother.
days. All right, so for my tagline, I
This is
just
your
have
top five.
the only thing I can think of is my tagline is Con Air. Thank you.
Wow. All right, I've got one. Con Air. Ugly all day. That's all I got.
I got Con Air. Fuck Alabama.
Why?
Cause man, it's Alabama.
All right.
Do I have another one? No.
That's all right. Let's get on to rating this thing. Let me just come out of the gates and just say it for you guys.
Yeah, he's awful damn good. I think I got the best one.
I think I got the best one. I think this is going to be top 2 Nick Cage movies we ever review in this series.
Oh, my God. Top 2?
Top 2. I'm going to say number 1, Wild at Heart. And I'm going to say number 2, Con Air. And I'm putting Con Air above Raising Arizona.
You are
And God damn it, this movie, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, it is everything to me. It is everything that makes me happy when I'm down. It's everything that makes me full when I'm hungry. It is. I've seen this movie 100 times, and I will watch it 100 more before I'm dead. I hope I'm fucking 80-something years old, sitting
Still
on my
watching
couch,
Con
listening
Air.
to watching Con Air at 100 decibels because I can't hear anymore. But so I can see everything.
Okay. All right. I am. I'm gonna give it my. I'm gonna give it my best rating too.
Yes.
But I don't think I need to watch it again. It's fine. If it were on, I'd probably watch it. But I mean, it's.
Why is it your best rating?
Because I enjoyed it. I legitimately enjoyed it. Like in spite of myself, because I wanted to hate it. I wanted to shit all over it, and I enjoyed it. I was like, it's fine. There's a lot of things that don't make sense. I don't like John Cusack. Cusack looks like he's like sucked on something sour, and anyway.
I feel like Cusack is like on drugs at this point in his life in the movie. Maybe. Like he was kind of like puffy face, a little sweaty, a little bit. Like not just the character.
I might like Cusack more after if that were the facts. But
all right, Juicebox, what do you got?
I mean, I'm not gonna hit it, but I'm gonna go top rating too because I mean this.
Let's hit it.
He's awful damn good. I think I got the best one.
Because this is a great fucking action movie.
Yeah.
Like it has everything. It has great characters. It has multiple great characters. You know what I'm saying? There's not obviously there's not a ton of character development or anything, but you don't need that in this type of movie. Like you just need some action. You need some one-liners. You need some like I am convinced John Malkovich is probably like a psycho in real life. You know what I'm saying? Because he's like so good at playing like this psychotic character. Like he's just like very intense, like perfect. I think Ving Rhames fucking knocked it out of the park in this movie. I don't know. I think everybody killed it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I agree.
I think everybody should watch this movie at least one time.
You have made me so happy, both of you. This has been the honor of my life.
It's not my top 5.
Talking about.
No, yeah, I can't say it's like
but I did. I enjoyed it. As I'm enjoying it, I'm thinking, man, fuck Bucky, man, because I know. I wanted to hate on it, but I really liked it.
Now we need to get you to watch Armageddon, and when that happens, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah,
finally catch you up on the 90s movies.
Yeah, I don't want to get your hopes up.
You're finally going to agree with everything that I've been saying for 10 damn years.
Don't hold your breath, man.
See, I mean, you're saying like this is top 5 movies for you. I kind of feel like maybe I'm misremembering, but I kind of feel like Face Off is better than this movie.
It is.
So
It
Face
is
Off,
better.
I don't remember Face Off, and I'm gonna watch Face Off like I've been watching it for the first time. I probably watched it once or twice in the '90s. Have not watched it since.
Oh,
Face
dude,
Off
it's great.
is
Because I feel
great.
like also like, and you know, we don't need to dive into it too much here, but I feel like Nick Cage goes into this subdued Nick Cage thing for a lot of these movies here in like the mid '90s, and he goes back off the fucking like rails in that movie.
Yeah,
but
they allow him to be Nick Cage again.
Isn't like Castor Troy only like crazy Nick Cage for like the first 5 minutes of the movie, and then
oh yeah, you're right, and then it's just fucking subdued Nick Cage again. Fuck.
Yeah, he's the good guy
because he's in Travolta's face.
That's right, dude. Oh man, I'm misremembering
but
big time.
It's a good. He's the moral.
That's right.
But it's good. Like
what I'm not
they're
excited.
both solid.
What I'm not excited about for Face Off is listening to or watching Nick Cage's face and John Travolta's voice come out of his lips. Like I remember that being creepy to me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna see if that still tracks.
We're gonna have. I can't wait. Actually, this is exciting.
It is.
You know, me too, because I think I misremember that movie a lot now.
I think we're getting to we're almost like around the fifth of the Nick Cage movies we've seen.
It's so
like
sad.
Of his whole collection of movies, right? Like I think we're hovering around like
20% in.
Yeah, yeah, 25. Yeah, 20%. That's pretty wild, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, only about 100 more episodes to go, guys.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We're
that's daunting. But.
real quick before we get out of here. I want to talk about the box office and what else you could have seen at that week. It
doesn't matter. This was the only one you should have seen.
Yeah. So anyway, Con Air came out at number 1, made $24 million the first weekend.
Damn.
Do you know what it unseated?
Okay, so we're
June
in
6, 1997.
97. That's got to be past Titanic, right?
I bet it's.
It's not Titanic. It was the Lost World, Jurassic Park,
I
which
was
had
going to
been
say Jurassic Park,
which
too.
had been number 1 the previous 2 weeks, and it knocked it off to number 2. You could also see. Okay, so this is wild to me. The movie Gone Fishing,
like a comedy movie.
wasn't that with like Joe Pesci and like
I think so. Danny Glover.
Danny Glover?
Yeah.
That was the number 5 movie that week, and it was the number 3 movie the week before.
Slow time for movies.
Slow summer.
Like that is. You could see Austin Powers. You could see The Fifth Element. You
damn.
could have seen Volcano, Anaconda, Scream. So there was a lot of stuff to see. I mean, not every theater had all these movies, obviously, but this is stuff that was still circulating around in June 6, 1997.
Incredible. Well, that's all we got for you for Con Air. Again, it's been the pleasure of my life to finally get to this point. We've suffered through a lot of reviewing Nick Cage movies, and it's over, and I'm sad now.
Damn, Christmas. It's like the day after Christmas.
It is. I was waiting for this for so long, and now it's all done. And
I'm excited for everything coming out. Like, there's so many movies that I haven't seen that I'm excited about.
Yeah,
You're
there
right.
are. Yeah, same.
City of Angels is coming up, Gone in 60 Seconds, Face Off. And we're still going to continue this trend for 8 millimeter.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I don't think I've seen that movie either.
I don't think I have.
So we are excited to keep bringing these Casting Cage episodes to you as long as you keep listening. So, man, if all else fails,
You take care, Sally Bishop.
and
Tell your mom and them.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby. In his hands, he's got the little bitty baby. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole